Smart24, Driving Business.
Hello there, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us today and for tuning in Smart24 TV as we do drive your business. My name is Anthony Sebale and I am your host. This is another edition of Financial Markets, and of course it's a Friday special as we wind down the week of trading, which has been seemingly a week of ups and downs in the US stocks, in the Ugandan stocks, as well as in the Kenyan stocks. And we are about to just break down what has been happening in the week and the highlights that have made headlines. And of course, remember to show us some love on Twitter by following us at Smart24 TV. My personal handle is at Anthony Sebale. And you can also follow Altex East Africa at Altex East Africa. Now with Altex, we are saying you can buy treasury bonds in East Africa with a simple dial of your phone. You simply need to grab your phone, no data, and dial *292#. And following the prompts, you can be able to buy or sell treasury bonds in East Africa. Now, the markets at Altex open at 8 a.m. and close at exactly 15 minutes past 3 p.m. East African Standard Time. And you can trade on all the latest bonds and enjoy a return on your savings with the long-term instruments of 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, and up to over 20 years on Altex. And with Altex, we are saying you can do something new. Okay, let's get to dive right into the trading of Thursday. Of course, today being a Friday, the markets are open. They opened at 9 a.m. East African Standard Time, and they will be closing at 1 p.m. So probably it's important for you to know what took place yesterday before you go ahead to start your trading. Now, on the Uganda Securities Exchange on Thursday, we had at least 3 equities participating in trading, and the big boys MTN came up at the top movement list. MTN Uganda recorded at least 962,396 shares, with Wumeme coming in the second position at least 47,034 shares, and Stanbic Bank Uganda, our biggest trader for this quarter, with at least 8,000 shares that were traded. Now on the market trading, we had at least 3 gainers and 4 losers coming on the market. And remember, the cross listings here in Uganda Securities Exchange usually do move more than the domestic listings, basically because of the factors underlying currently the forex trading. And when you look at the exchange rates between the Kenyan shillings and the Ugandan shillings fluctuating every now and then, definitely you would expect most of the cross listings to become a little bit more volatile. Now, Centum Investments led the gainers with a top gain of at least 0.86%, up to a price of at least 259.42. Remember, Altex East Africa, also one of the biggest brands in East Africa, a private stock exchange, gives you access to the equity investment, and you can be able to invest in equities as well. Now, Centum last year, if you followed through, they had at least a price of 400 shillings beginning the year, and they lost at least over 40% of that price over 2022. Now, starting 2023, things would have been a little bit different, unlike what we saw last year. But seems like Altex, rather Centum Investments, is actually catching up with the speed of 2023. With a gain of 0.86%, the current pricing of the stock is at 259.42 Ugandan shillings. MTN Uganda, our biggest mover for the day, had at least a gain of 0.47%, up to a price of 171.87 Ugandan shillings. Yes, MTN stock seems to be sliding on and off the gaining list, and it's quite worrying because this is the month of March, and we are anxiously waiting for the earnings of the companies here on the exchange that will be definitely impacting your next move as an investor. MTN Uganda this year actually came out and said they had a 20% profit on their revenue. last year, the fiscal year 2022, and that definitely had, of course, some impact on the trading. We saw a little bit of gains in the pricing, but they were not resilient. And currently, we are seeing another gain that was experienced on Thursday, with slightly above 0.8 gained up to a price of 171.87 Ugandan shillings per share. Now, MTN Uganda's stock currently is valued at 3.85 trillion in total. That's their total market capitalization. And currently, they are the most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And they're coming in the third position in terms of value and market capitalization. The total of 962,000 shares accrued a total value of at least 165 million Ugandan shillings, which has been also their biggest turnover this week. So we could expect fund managers to be part of this movement, but also individual trades and trades from different big investors in the markets that could be rallying the stock market here in Uganda. Now, currently we have over 22.4 billion shares out there on the exchange floated on the MTN stock. And however, the gain, of course, is not entirely supported by what's surrounding the current market performances for MTN. In the last 1 week, MTN has lost 1.79%, and in the last 4 weeks, at least 3.98% has been lost on MTN stock. MTN began the year with also a price of 180.0 shillings, and that means in terms of year to date, they have lost at least 4.52%, which is a big value they have to make up for if we are to enjoy the stock this year. Now, also in terms of trading in the last quarter, MTN Uganda is in the second position, maintaining the second position just after Stanbic Bank. And I remember the two have been on a very close competition, Stanbic Bank, MTN, and there's been a lot of competition in terms of trading volumes. However, MTN has failed to catch up with Stanbic, which is now currently at over 165 million shares in the last 3 months, and MTN still staggering at 21.5 million shares. Now, if you want to know about when to make a decision, for example, if you want to choose between a stock that is more active and less active, let's get to look at the dividends. Last year, MTN Uganda issued 4.7 shillings as dividend. This year, that could be going up because definitely with the 20% pre-tax profit that was registered, we do expect a little bit more value to be added to the shareholder. That is keeping all other factors constant. But also Stanbic Bank Uganda promised a very huge dividend. And as we're going to see later on in the banking sector, many of the banking or financial institutions on the exchanges here in East Africa have been able to publish their financial or fiscal year 2022 results. And a very promising indeed report has been coming from Stanbic Holdings currently. So will MTN Uganda also this year be able to up its game in terms of dividends? That could be a big changer, a big game changer in the way that MTN Uganda is going to be trading in 2023. Let's move on to the top gainers here. We had MTN Uganda as well as Equity Bank Limited come on the gainers list as well. Equity Bank Limited gained at least 0.1% up to a price of 1,094.32 Ugandan shillings, and that was it from the biggest movers, rather biggest gainers for the day. On the losing side, however, Kenya Airways lost at least 0.04%, down to 110.15 shillings, whereas National Media Group at least lost at least 0.04% as well, down to 417.02 Ugandan shillings. East African Breweries Limited lost a total of 0.03%, down to a 4,889.20 shillings. Jubilee Holdings Limited stock also lost 0.03%, down to a price of 4,314. Apparently, on the market day, the fourth market day, we had a total of 46% decline in volume that saw at least 1.017 million shares traded. and a 25% decline in turnover on Thursday. And also the market capitalization on the Uganda Securities Exchange contracted slightly to a total of 19.4 trillion Ugandan shillings. The benchmark index, however, of course, basically due to the gain of the three big stocks, MTN, Equity Bank Limited, as well as Centum, appreciated, and we have 10.93 points. This was to a gain of a tune of at least 1,092.95 points. Closing now currently in the last 1 week with a gain, a loss rather of 5.12% and a total overall year-to-date loss of 9.32%. And that is currently the data coming in from the Uganda Securities Exchange. To trade on the exchange, all you need to know is to get to your online platform, and then you do open an account called an SCD account or a Security Central Depository. And this can be opened online through your phone or your laptop, and you can go and dial, simply get to type USE, www.use.org.com, and following the prompts, you can be able to access the Easy Portal. And under the Easy Portal, you have your email ID and so on and so forth, your personal details, and the account will be opened at absolutely no cost. And then later on, you can also get to choose your stockbroker. We have 5 stockbrokers in place: SBG, Dyer and Blair. We do have UAP and cheaper technologies as well on the market. All those are there to serve you. They are licensed, and that's very, very important. You must be dealing with licensed entities on the exchange. Let's get to Nairobi very quickly here before, of course, we run out of time. Now, Nairobi Securities Exchange, the busiest and the largest stock exchange in East Africa, had at least a total of 49 participants in the trading. Comparing that with Wednesday, there was an improvement in the number of participants from 46 to 49 equities. The gainers were 22 and 16 losers were registered on the market. Consequent of this wonderful performance, the index inched up 0.05 points for the first time in a week, where we have experienced losses, at least mainly on the benchmark index. Now, currently comparing the day with Wednesday, there was a 24% decline, however, in the volumes and a 31% decline in the turnover on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. However, 16% improvement in the number of deals was expressed, meaning Kenyans have continued to express more interest in their market. Now, at the moment, when you look at the top gainers, Crown Paints Kenya did come on top of the gainers there with a total gain of at least 8.57%, up to a price of at least over 38.0 Kenyan shillings per share. And the Diamond Trust Bank Kenya as well had a gain of 8.52%, with Longhorn Publishers gaining 7.69% and Unga Group at least 6.67%. On the losing side, Wumeme unfortunately came out last with an end of day price depreciation of 6.94%, down to a price of 9.12 Kenyan shillings per share. And when you look at Car and General Kenya, they had a loss of at least 5.93%, and Sasini Tea and Coffee 5.02% loss, as well as Flame Tree Group Holdings at a loss of 3.85%. Safaricom continued to rally the Nairobi Stock Exchange with a total volume of over 8.7 million shares that were recorded. Unfortunately, this ended with a loss for Safaricom of over 0.1 Kenyan shillings. There's been concern about the current performance of Safaricom on the Nairobi Stock Exchange in the past couple of weeks and days. Now, Safaricom yesterday closed at 19.00 Kenyan shillings after a 0.52% value shed off from the shareholders' value on the market. Now, the day's lowest price, however, was 18.55, and 19.4 was the highest pricing. The 8.7 million shares accrued a total turnover of at least over 165 million Kenyan shillings. Now, currently in the 1 week performance, fortunately, not unfortunately, there has been a gain. And this is a ray of hope in a stock that has been falling from grace. As we know, from time immemorial, Safaricom stock has been the biggest and one of the stocks that has actually pushed the Nairobi Stock Exchange further, especially attracting investors across the world and across the globe to currently trade on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Safaricom, however, in the last 4 weeks is still counting losses of 18.8% and 23.1% in the last 1 quarter, and in 6 months over 30.9%, which has been worrying shareholders currently. However, they began the year as well with at least 24.15 Kenyan shillings and at a current price of 19 shillings, they have lost at least 21% value in terms of year to date. Of course, they have maintained their position as the most traded stock on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in the last quarter, trading close to 586 million shares on the market. That saw at least 12 billion Kenyan shillings market capitalization currently being traded on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, of course, the question remains, will Safaricom improve their dividend this year or not after such turmoil that they have experienced on the exchange? Of course, this turmoil has been mainly actually pushed by the foreign investors who have been, of course, panic selling and running outside the markets to go and invest in the treasury bonds, especially in the United States. But will Kenyans be able to pick up the pieces and keep Safaricom going? That's a question, of course, that you and I anxiously await an answer to. Let's get to cross over to Equity Group Holdings. Equity Group Holdings also came very close in competition with Safaricom, with at least 1.76 million shares that were traded. And Kenya Power and Lighting Company came in the 3rd position in terms of volumes at a 1.31 million shares volume. Cooperative Bank of Kenya had at least 1.1 million shares that were traded as well. Regarding the performance of other indices besides the benchmark index, that is the NSE All Share Index, we did have the NSE 20, the tracker of the top 20 stocks on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, appreciate by 1.14%, and the NSE 25 at least appreciated by 0.28%. And that's the trading from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Remember, we are pushing for the integration of the East African capital market, and we want to have a one-stop center where we can be able to buy all our bonds, we can be able to buy all our securities, our shares, and this is without any tariff or non-tariff barriers that are currently in place if you want to trade, for example, on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. We want to change that, and you can be part of that history if you only make a decision to be part of the market and get your journey of investment started. Now let's get to crossover to United States. Now we are off Nairobi up to the Wall Street. Now, according to data from the Wall Street, there was a good day of trading on Thursday. And when you look at the stocks opening on Thursday, they opened much higher after, of course, the Federal Reserve Bank on Wednesday signaled a rate hiking campaign that may be nearing an end amid concerns about the stability of the global banking system. Shortly after the opening bell on Thursday, the biggest index, the S&P 500 on the American land, actually was up by 0.9%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average was higher by at least 0.6%, while the technology-heavy Nasdaq Composite led the way up to over 1.3% gain. Other major assets that were on the move on Thursday was the crude oil on WTI, which was off by 0.6% to trade nearly over $70.5 per barrel. And the crude oil slumped to its lowest level nearly 2 years earlier this week amid worries over global demand and a rally on the dollar. Now, the 10-year Treasury bond in the United States was little changed early Thursday, down about 1 basis point to at least nearly over 3.49%, after yields moved lower on Wednesday following the Federal Reserve's latest interest forecasts suggesting rate hikes are close to an end. Yes, you've heard me right. The rate hikes are coming close to an end than previously expected. Now, on Wednesday, if you followed through Jerome Powell's speech on the Wall Street there at the Federal Reserve Bank, definitely you knew that we have actually raised the target rate for the benchmark rates by 0.25% as expected, bringing the range now of the funds rate at least 4.75% to 5%. And this is the highest rate hike since October 2007. Now, updated economic projections from the Federal Reserve Bank, however, suggested only one more 0.25% rate hike that is likely to be happening this year, and a forecast that is in line with what the central bank said in December, but in reversal with what Fed Chairman Mr. Jerome Powell's signaling earlier this month. And that's the trading from the United States. You can follow for more on our website. You can visit www.smart24tv.com to find out more on what's happening currently in the global financial markets. My name is Anthony. Remember to check out OTEX East Africa and trade on the latest treasury bonds in East Africa with no hassle, with more money and getting a hold of your future. Now with OTEX, you simply dial *292# with MTN or Airtel to experience the magic and revolutionize investment in your family. My name is Anthony once again. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you a very lovely weekend. Bye for now.